Can a politician vote with his conscience and still remain popular? When Meyer London was elected to Congress from the Lower East Side, that's the test he faced, with mixed results. Born in the Russian Empire in what today is Lithuania, London came to the US when he was 20, joining his father and brother on the Lower East Side, then the center of Jewish life and left-wing political activity in New York City. He worked various jobs, including a tutor and a librarian, while attending NYU Law School at night, and he started practicing law in 1898. He was known on the Lower East Side for his generosity. Rather than taking well-paying jobs, he would help tenants fighting evictions or aid labor unions in negotiations with employers, and often refuse payment or even gifts for these services, meaning that he often didn't have much money himself. But his work didn't go unnoticed by the community, who elected him to Congress in 1914, defeating the incumbent, a Tammany Hall man named Henry Goldfogle. London was just the second socialist ever to enter Congress. He became the principal spokesman and advocate in the House for the urban industrial worker, and sponsored social welfare legislation to help them while opposing things like immigration quota laws. But he sometimes found himself faced with votes where his principles conflicted with what might be the politically advantageous position. London was one of the 50 members of the House to vote against U.S. entry into World War I, which angered conservatives. Once the country was in the war, however, the patriotic London became a firm backer of the war effort, angering his socialist supporters. For other members of his constituency, his refusal to put forward a bill calling for a Jewish homeland was a betrayal. While not opposed in theory, he wanted a state that was socialist and wanted to consult the populations currently living on the land. He was also aware that not all Jews supported the project at the time and wanted to represent everyone. So in 1918, he lost his seat back to Goldfogle after an unusual coalition of wealthy conservatives, socialists opposed to the war, and supporters of a Jewish homeland came together to defeat London. He would manage to get elected again to the seat 2 years later, but that would mark his last term. After Congress, he would return to law and to helping support the Socialist Party, but tragically, he didn't have many more years to live. On June 6, 1926, he was crossing First Avenue near 18th Street, then a two-way avenue, and got caught halfway across when heavy traffic started whizzing by. He was hit by a truck and seriously injured, dying in Bellevue that night at the age of 54. Among his last requests is that the driver not be punished, as he was a poor working man and London felt it was his own fault he had been hit. His casket was taken through his old neighborhood, across the Williamsburg Bridge, out to Mount Carmel Cemetery in Queens. An estimated 500,000 people lined the route to pay their respects. This elementary school tucked away on Henry Street is named for him, as is part of the nearby Hillman Housing Cooperative. He also had a government cargo ship named after him during World War II. But overall, London is a bit of a forgotten figure these days, which is a pity because whatever you might think of his positions, his policy of putting principles before politics is an approach that's been in short supply among members of Congress for much of its history.